Well, today I'm going to take a look at a yard that I actually had somebody run into me at a local establishment, and he said, hey, I've watched some of your videos. Would you mind coming over and looking at my yard for me? And I said, well, where do you live? And he told me where he lived. And I said, I just so happen to be going by there today. I'll come by and take a look at the yard. And I said, would you mind if I make a video about it? I'm sure if you've got questions about your yard, other people will as well. Today's video is sponsored by Graham Spray Equipment. If you need a spray rig for your weed control and fertilization business or whatever business you're in, then go to grahamsc.com or give those guys a call. I just met the gentleman and he said, yeah, go ahead and make a video. As I pulled up, his front yard looking great. I'm going to show you that. But his questions were about the backyard. So I want to show you what I just saw with my own eyes, talk to you about the backyard. What could we do? What solutions could we provide for his backyard? Now, this is not a yard that I'm interested in taking on, but I'm just going to tell you the advice I gave him and show you the situation. And maybe you guys will have some advice for him in the comments as well. Middle of the day here, bright sunshiny day, filming this in October. He's got a Bermuda grass lawn that is being treated by one of the local companies here. And I said, yeah, your front yard looks great. Now, the color's not that great, but it's October. Weather, I show next week going down to about 40 degrees. Very few weeds in the yard. Overall, I think it looks really good. And I can also tell it looks like it's been maintained well. Looks like it's mowed frequently and everything looking good. But then we get in the backyard, and that's where the questions were. So as we approach the backyard, I'm going to show you what I just saw for the first time with my own eyes and talk to you about some of the issues that are holding this yard back and what could we do to provide a solution. And also want to talk to you a little bit about what the gentleman told me that he has tried and what's worked, what hasn't worked. So when I walk back here, of course, what I'm noticing, and I'm in Alabama, we've got warm season grasses. What I'm noticing is a couple of mature trees here. And he said he's been in this house for 30 years. So he talked about over here, you've got a situation where the septic tank was dug up and used to be grass there, but I can imagine over time these trees keep getting bigger and bigger, less and less sunlight. The other thing you're going to notice here is a fairly steep slope here. You can tell from here it even slopes even further as I go down there toward the fence. Another issue we've got here, as I look over the neighbor's house there, and they got a big dog, two big dogs. This guy says he's got 4 big dogs back here. So we've got a few issues going on. Let's talk about them one by one. All right, so the first issue, as I can see the sun coming through the tree up there, is the lack of sunlight, especially over here. Let me look at my phone. It is 1:25 in the afternoon and we're basically in the shade here. Now, you can see, I'm gonna say 3/4 of the yard is in the shade, and we got a little bit over there that's getting some sunlight here in the afternoon. Now, unfortunately, in this situation where we live in Alabama, we're too far south to grow cool season grasses. So as far as your warm season grasses go, when you're looking at a shade situation like this, and not total shade, but about one of our better options around here is emerald zoysia. And I told him, he talked about going to a sod farm, getting some sod. I said, you know, they're gonna have probably emerald zoysia and Z52 zoysia, the 2 varieties they typically grow. And I said I would get the emerald zoysia over the Z52 zoysia. It tends to be more shade tolerant, and I think it will also hold on a hill a little bit better. We talked about the timing of when to do that. If you were going to put some sod out here, when do you do it? Now, again, filming this in October, I said we're getting a little bit late in the game to be doing it right now. If we were to get a hard winter, a hard for Alabama standards is not the same as Wisconsin, I understand that. But yeah, let's just say we got down to single digits, which we have the last 2 winters, and you just threw some grass out right now, it would have very little rooting by the time the cold weather gets here in December, January, February, and I would be concerned about it. So I said maybe wait until April until you put down your sod. The problem I see though is putting it on this hillside. He said, what about bringing in some dirt? I said, yeah, I think that could actually help, but my concern is if you put it down in April, you put the sod on top of it, how long is it going to take that zoysia sod to take root? And I think what could happen is you bring in the dirt and you get the heavy rains, is it how much of the dirt is going to get washed out before the sod ever is able to take hold. So I'll be honest, I don't have a great solution for that. I'm not a landscaper. I love for the landscapers watching this. What do you do in that situation when you got sod on a slope and you're going to bring in some topsoil because the soil's not great? And how do you do that? What do you do to get it to hold, to take time to root without it washing away the dirt? If you have a solution, I love to hear that so the homeowner can read that and maybe we can come up with a better solution than I was able to provide for him. But once you got the emerald zoysia established in this area, I do think it probably gets a significant amount of sun earlier in the day. I wouldn't grow it back in the furthest corners where it gets almost no sunlight, but anywhere here that's going to get 5-6 hours of sun, I think you could make the emerald zoysia work. And once it got established, I think it would help with the erosion problem and have very few weeds. Homeowners told me he's tried seeding. I said, you know, that typically doesn't work. Our warm season grasses, usually they're going to spread on their own. If this Bermuda grass was here, was in a good spot with plenty of sunlight, it would have already spread and covered this yard with proper nutrients and take care of the weeds and that sort of thing. Unfortunately, with the challenges and with the sunlight being the main one, the Bermuda grass is probably never going to do well here, and you're just kind of wasting your money as far as putting out more seed, because the Bermuda grass is just not going to do well in those situations. I think a prime example of that is as you walk down here and you see there's more sunlight as you get down here, and as you get into the actual sunny parts, there's actually more Bermuda here. So the Bermuda is growing where the sun is, and where the sun's not, the Bermuda doesn't grow very well. Now the other thing the homeowner told me while I was talking with him, he said I went ahead and overseeded this year with some ryegrass. So he's already got the ryegrass down. And that's a homeowner's preference. I think in this situation that probably makes it look a lot better. I can imagine this backyard when a lot of these warm season weeds start to die off in the wintertime, and with 4 large dogs, I can imagine it gets pretty thin and muddy back here in the winter. So that ryegrass is going to make it look a little better over the winter, but also give him something to hold the soil when we get some heavy rains throughout the winter months. He's told me that he's even considered maybe trying to transition the backyard to a cool season grass like a fescue, I believe he said. And I said, well, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to survive the summer months, so it's not going to work for you either. I think, again, going back to zoysia is probably your best option in this situation. Let's talk about some of the weeds we're seeing in this yard. And there was one particular weed that I noticed a lot of as soon as I walked back here, but this would be a good example of being able to show you some very mature warm season weeds because of the time of the year we are. All right, so sometimes when you're in shady situations, you get weeds that you don't always see in other situations. I believe this weed is called dichondra. You can see it can really take over, especially when an area is not getting a lot of sunlight. The other weed that I was talking about earlier that I was seeing a lot in this yard is this weed right here. This is goosegrass. Goosegrass typically likes compacted soil. I told him a good post-emergent for goosegrass is Dismiss NXT. I understand for homeowners, sometimes the sticker price on some of these herbicides is a lot. Another weed we can show you, it's a great time of year to learn this one. You might look at this grass right here and say, oh, is that centipede or is that St. Augustine? Well, it's neither. It looks to me the blade width, the leaf blade is a little bit wider than centipede, a little bit narrower than St. Augustine. Narrower, I should have pronounced that more clearly. But you can see the seed head here is the dead giveaway on the carpet grass. It's got the Y at the top, and then below the Y it just comes off to one side. It's kind of unusual, but that's what carpet grass seed head looks like. Got some oxalis there, or yellow wood sorrel, even blooming. Got the heart-shaped leaf here, wild violet. One of the things I noticed is in the fall is a lot of the weeds that start taking off, and you see in the spring with those cooler temperatures. In the fall, you start seeing them again, you know, like a dandelion, for instance. It's like, oh, the dandelion's doing great in the spring, and then in the fall, the weather starts cooling on, the dandelions start showing out again, and same thing with some of these other weeds. They just look healthy. They like these cooler temperatures. If you want to get rid of carpet grass, Celsius is the product we use for that. Sometimes if you're going to spray Celsius, make sure you don't have like you think you got a centipede lawn, you're going to spray Celsius on, you actually got a carpet grass lawn, and you end up killing half your lawn. So just make sure it's carpet grass and that you're trying to kill it. Celsius is a good product for getting rid of it. You see here where you've got some erosion issues here and very little grass in the shade, and he's trying to overseed here with some cool season grasses. You got big clumps of Dallas grass growing in the yard here, broadleaf weeds here, like some kind of plantain, maybe buckhorn plantain, I don't know, I might got that one wrong. Clover, white clover there, even blooming. And then again, we did over here, it just ended up being goose grass. For whatever reason, it's just growing all in this area. We can sit in here and look at weeds all day, but unfortunately, until he gets a healthy stand of grass here, he's gonna have a lot of weed problems. If you come in here in a situation like this, say, well, I'm just gonna start spraying herbicide, and what happens is you end up killing the weeds. You got very, very thin Bermuda grass, and it's just not a good situation. So unfortunately, I don't know what better help to provide for him until he gets a nice established grass. And I think with this situation here on a slope with some shade issues, probably gonna have to go with the zoysia, or you could do some kind of landscaping. He was talking about maybe having a landscaper do a berm or something to kind of control the water flow. So there's some things like that could help here if you just wanted to landscape it and leave the sunny part down there and try to grow Bermuda. You could do that as well, because unfortunately, getting zoysia in this big backyard is going to be quite expensive, even if you do it yourself. Hiring a landscaper are definitely going to be expensive. But I think videos like this hopefully are helpful, because again, this particular homeowner had been putting out grass seed and trying to fix the problem. Unfortunately, those things are not going to work. So sometimes you just got to have the right grass in the right situation to salvage it. Again, the zoysia we say is shade tolerant. Other grasses like St. Augustine are shade tolerant. I know obviously a lot of your cool season grasses are shade tolerant. It doesn't necessarily mean that they like shade, but they do tolerate it more so than others. So again, we're not going to stick zoysia in a closet with no sunlight at all, or under a tree that doesn't get any sunlight. Even a few hours, it's gonna struggle, but if you get 5 or 6 hours, I think our emerald zoysia could do fine here. Once you get that established, and again, if it were my yard and I put that down in April, I'm probably not spraying it or fertilizer, doing anything until the fall. I'm just watering it, try to keep it alive. I don't want to spray any kind of herbicide on it that could hinder the rooting. So just maybe spot treating a little bit if I needed to, but I'm just going to be patient, keep it watered. In the fall, if it's good and rooted, maybe I go in there with a light rate, a low rate of prodiamine or something like that as far as pre-emerger. Maybe not even do that, I don't know, just depend on the situation. But the main priority would be getting it established with a long-term vision. Bermuda would obviously take root much faster than the zoysia, so you could be a little bit more aggressive on that if you wanted to. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something in the video. If you have any tips for this homeowner or suggestions, leave so in the comments. Also, if you want to get a weed control and fertilization like me, go to linecarelife.com. That's my website. I have resources like the Weed Control and Fertilization Academy. I'm also thinking about doing a monthly coaching group soon. I think I'm going to do it, but I just hadn't done it yet. And then hope to see many of you at the Equip Expo. If you haven't got your ticket, you can use my code CREEL50, C-R-E-E-L 50. That's my last name, and save half off. I will be planning to be there at the Xmark booth Wednesday at 3 o'clock, handing out custom t-shirts. I'll be at the Spiker booth doing a giveaway. I think on Thursday I'll be at the John Deere booth doing a podcast with my friend Paul Jameson on one day, whatever my calendar says. So hope to see some of you in person. Also, linecarelife.com is where you'll find info on the Line Care Life Conference. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video.